Hello friends and welcome back to the garden. So today is all about potatoes, harvesting potatoes, the different ways I grew potatoes this season so far, and then just my thoughts on the different growing methods. So potatoes are one of my favorite things to grow. I think they're such a great crop for the beginner gardener because you really just kind of plant them, make sure they have adequate water, let them grow, and then harvest them. They don't usually have a ton of pests. I mean, they're all pests that can affect them, but for the most part, potatoes are pretty fairly easy crop to grow in the home garden. You can also grow them in any kind of container, anything that will hold dirt. Grow bags, raised beds, pots, cardboard boxes, laundry baskets, of course in the ground. Really anything that's going to hold dirt, you can grow a potato in, which makes them super fun. So this year I did a couple different things. Growing in grow bags has always kind of been my preferred method over the years. But I said, you know what, this year I want to do some in a raised bed as well, to see if I get a different, get more or get bigger ones, that type of thing. So I did a whole 4x4 bed of potatoes, two different varieties, along with doing some in grow bags. And then I also did some in a laundry basket, believe it or not, because you see a lot of that like on different social media apps and stuff. So the ones in the raised bed, it was actually this one here that I now have peanuts in, actually did the worst, believe it or not. And I say the worst because the potatoes themselves were fine, but I got a lot of pest damage. So I have something called jumping worms here. They're invasive. Don't want them. Not sure if they're what bothered it. I also had fire ants in that bed, which I've read that they can also eat your crop. I had just a lot of, like I said, when I harvested the potatoes, just a ton of pest damage. Probably about half of them weren't salvageable, which was super disappointing. But these are the things you learn. So the grow bags, typically I don't have pest damage in them as far as the actual potato goes. I'm going to harvest some right now, so that may change. They may call me a liar, but typically I don't have pest damage in them. And then in the laundry basket, which was a new thing for me, I just wanted to try. So in the laundry basket, what you do is you sort of layer like straw or hay, typically straw because hay can have weed seeds. So you layer straw with like some potting mix, and then the seed potatoes, and then the straw, seed potatoes. So you're making layers. And the thought is that the potatoes, the plant themselves, will grow out of all the holes, creating more potatoes for you to harvest. And that just is not what worked for me. I got very few. They all had some type of damage on them, and a lot of them were just rotten. Now we have been very wet, but I haven't noticed that same problem with my Smart Pots grow bags. So I don't know. It's one of those things, you have to do what works for you and for your climate. But for me, I will not be doing the laundry basket potato tower experiment again. So enough about potatoes. If you have any questions, please let me know. Again, they're super easy crop, I think, in my opinion. Usually take about 90 days or so to grow. I'm fortunate that I'm able to get, to succession plant because I'm such a mild climate. So I can get a lot of harvest of potatoes. I can just kind of harvest, plant, and just keep on rolling, which I love. I liked having a little harvest at different times throughout the year, and then instead of having a whole bunch of potatoes at one time that I have to deal with. So let's get into these last two bags and see what we got. And just real quick, I wanted to share, so this was the 4x4 bed that I had the potatoes in, and the year before I grew peanuts in here. And when I harvested the potatoes, I found a ton of volunteer peanut plants, which is what I have here now. So this whole thing just reseeded itself, and the timing was perfect. So this was such an unexpected, happy surprise from the garden. That I just could not have planned any better, and I didn't plan it. And if these are for squirrels, I've been having a lot of squirrel pests. You can see something got in here. This might actually have been a turtle. Sometimes I get turtles in the beds too, but here are the two grow bags we're going to harvest today. These are like my original grow bags. I've had these guys a long, long time, as you can tell. I have them up here on the edges because we've been getting so much rain, and I've just been trying to dry them out a little bit because I prefer to harvest potatoes when it's drier out. The soil is drier. It just makes for a cleaner potato, a cleaner harvest, that type of thing. And you know when the potatoes are ready to harvest? When the plant starts to die back. Now, unfortunately, on some of this, I also got like some diseases, again, with just all of the rain I've been having. So it's definitely time to just go ahead and harvest these guys and see what's in here. I think some of them might actually be just resprouting themselves. So yeah, it's time to harvest and see what we got. So I like to just go ahead and lay down a tarp, as you can see here, because I reuse the soil. Unless they would be like super scabby, or something like that where I feel like I need to switch it out, but I find that I can reuse my soil for quite a few seasons. So let's get these guys over here. These are big honker bags. Probably should have opened up the tarp more, but I may not dump the whole thing out, usually just the top part. Let's see what we got. Oh, we already got some falling out. Oh, he's got a little pest damage. Bummer. Well, maybe it's just the year of pests and potatoes. What do we think? Maybe I've gotten this bag infested. And again, these plants didn't look great, so that might be a problem too. Yeah, might be time to not recycle this soil anymore because I'm finding a lot of damage on this, on these potatoes. But I'm not seeing any jumping worms in here. And there were a couple potatoes left on those plants, but I can tell they're just scabby, or not scabby, because potato scab's a different thing, but not any good. Well, bummer. I think that's all we're gonna get out of that guy. So if you're not sure how potatoes grow, let me show you here with one of these plants if I can. Well, now I got them all twisted together. So you plant your little seed potato, and then it starts to form the plant, and then the little potatoes just come right off of it. You can tell even these stems have damage. So that's really weird. It's definitely been a weird potato year, but my other bags have been really great. So not sure what's happened here, but this is definitely some sort of pest. Can you see that? And I'll turn the camera around so you can see it better. Okay, let's see if this other one's any better. But you know what? When I was picking the other one up, it actually tore. And again, I've probably had these grow bags, gosh, a long time. These originally came from, I think, Gardener Supply. Stayed out here through every season. I never take them inside. So I would say I've had them, oh gosh, at least 8-10 years. So I think I'm just going to replace these bags completely with some new Smart Pot bags. Because now that they're tearing, they've just outlived their life cycle. But anyways, let's see if this bag's any better. It's hot down here in South Alabama and humid, so that's why it's like the air is heavy. Well, there's definitely some potatoes. Oh yeah, these guys look much better. Although, oh, look at that. There's the culprit. Some type of little cockroachy thing eating the potatoes. Bummer. Well, yeah. So more pest damage. So yeah, I'm going to just completely dump these bags out and not reuse the soil. But that's okay. I have reused this a ton of times, so I've definitely gotten my money's worth out of it. And that happens. I mean, even though I refresh the soil, I mean, you're going to get to a point where you're going to just have to completely redo it, and that's to be expected. I had garlic in here before this, and they did great, so I'm happy with that. And I might be able to salvage, even though these potatoes don't look great, I found out for leaving them to cure in the garage for a little while. Another little roachy thing. Yeah. It's like so bad this year. I don't know why. I guess because we're so wet. I don't know. Yeah, we're going to end up with some good ones here. I'm happy with that. I probably only had a few in here, so anything we get out is great. But yeah, so after I let them cure for a couple of days in the garage, you can kind of see more what you're dealing with. You know, whether or not you can eat the potato. And of course, that's always your personal preference. You do what feels right to you. But for me, it doesn't have to look perfect to be edible. All right, yeah, I'm going to load this guy into my cart and just dump this whole thing and start fresh. These bags, again, I've had these a long time. They don't owe me anything. You can tell they're just covered with moss and everything else. So definitely going to get some new potato bags. If you are looking to do potatoes, I do grow them in 5 gallons, but I think anywhere from like 10 to 15 is probably a better size. You're just going to get more bang for your buck, as opposed to the 5 gallon. I mean, you'll still get some out of the 5 gallon, but it just won't be as big as a harvest. So if you can do a 10 to 15, I think these ones here maybe like 12s. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It was so long ago when I got them, but let me turn this around and show you all the potatoes that we ended up with. So here is what we ended up with. Like I said, unfortunately, a lot of this is pest damage, but you know what? You can actually just cut this part out. At least that's what I've been doing, and it'll still be okay. Some of them might be worse, but for the most part, I think I can salvage a lot of this. This guy, he's too far gone. I'll just chuck him in the weeds, but not great, but you know what? Sometimes this happens. Like I said, the pest damage has just been horrendous this year. So if you have any question of whether or not this is real life, it clearly is. Like I said, I was going to do this whole thing about like harvesting from the grow bags and how they're better, and normally they are. I can't believe I had pests in that one, but like I said, like the little roach type things have been really weird. I've never really seen in my garden until this year. But again, we're always wet and hot because I'm in South Alabama, but this year it just seems to be next level and really bringing all the pests out. But that's okay. I have planted in that soil a ton of times. It was probably for it to get refreshed anyways. And I'm going to keep growing the potatoes in the grow bags because that's still my favorite way. It's just easy to harvest. Overall, it's less pest damage. And like I said, then I can usually reuse the soil as well, and all that kind of stuff. But I'd love to know in the comments any questions that you guys have. If you're also growing potatoes, what's your favorite way to grow them? If you're seeing pest damage, how you deal with soil-borne pests in potatoes. Just all that kind of stuff. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Stay cool out there, and we'll talk soon. Bye.